Today we are here with a revengeful new story named The Businessman's Downfall, How I Took Down My Ruthless Ex-Boss. I had been working for a mid-sized tech company located in one of the busiest cities. We were known for our innovative software solutions, and the company's future looked bright when I joined. I started as a sales representative, hungry for success, and within months, I was among the top-performing employees. I worked late nights, sacrificed weekends, and gave my all, which didn't go unnoticed by the management. Within 2 years, I was promoted to a senior sales role, earning a hefty bonus for each new client I brought in. Life was good. I had just bought a new apartment downtown and felt like I was finally living the dream. The company was growing, and with the expansion, new leadership arrived. Enter John, a man whose reputation preceded him. His resume was full of achievements, but what most didn't know, and what I soon discovered, was that behind that facade of success lay a ruthless, manipulative man who would do anything for personal gain. At first, I gave John the benefit of the doubt. We all hoped that his ambitious plans to expand the company globally would help us grow even further. But it didn't take long for his true colors to show. John was obsessed with slashing costs, cutting corners, and inflating the bottom line, no matter what the human cost was. Employee morale plummeted within weeks of his arrival. He implemented strict, unreasonable deadlines, took away bonuses, and forced us to work overtime without any form of compensation. It wasn't just me. My colleagues, too, were feeling the pressure. Sarah, one of our most experienced developers, had a nervous breakdown after John publicly humiliated her in front of the team for a minor error in the code. John made an example out of her, and that set the tone for everyone else. Either you were perfect or you were out. Several senior employees, fed up with the toxicity, quit, leaving behind gaping holes in the company's infrastructure. But John didn't care. All he saw were numbers. I, however, stayed. I wasn't going to let him force me out. I had worked too hard to build my career and wasn't about to give up because of some egotistical CEO who saw people as disposable resources. But as weeks turned into months, John's tyranny grew worse. He introduced a mandatory performance improvement plan for nearly every employee. This was essentially a way to push people to work longer hours under the guise of performance monitoring. My workload tripled. I was now responsible not only for my accounts, but also for cleaning up messes caused by Tim, John's nephew. Tim had just graduated from college, and while he had no experience in sales, John gave him a high-ranking position. He was completely out of his depth, but John shielded him from consequences. The rest of us, however, were expected to cover for him, clean up his mistakes, and keep our mouths shut. The first big problem arose when Tim lost one of our major clients, a client I had worked hard to secure. Tim had bungled the deal so badly that the client not only refused to renew the contract, but also spread the word to other potential clients about our company's declining professionalism. This could have been catastrophic for us. I spent weeks trying to salvage the relationship, but the damage had been done. I remember that meeting like it was yesterday. John called me into his office, an immaculate space with glass walls filled with expensive art pieces. It was intimidating, deliberately so. As I sat across from him, he didn't even bother to make eye contact. "Do you know why you're here?" John asked, his voice cold and authoritative. "I assume it's about the client Tim lost," I responded, trying to maintain my composure. John leaned back in his chair, folding his arms across his chest. "It's not about Tim, it's about you. As a senior sales rep, it's your responsibility to ensure that your team delivers results. You failed." I was stunned. "But with all due respect, John, Tim's mistakes cost us the deal. I've been doing everything I can to fix this." John's eyes narrowed. "Excuses don't bring in revenue. You've been underperforming, and if this keeps up, you'll be out of here by the end of the quarter." I was furious, but kept my anger in check. Underperforming? I've exceeded my targets every quarter since I started. You know that." John smirked. "You're on probation, effective immediately. Your commissions are suspended until further notice." He left no room for argument. I was essentially being punished for Tim's incompetence. But deep down, I knew that this wasn't just about performance. John was slowly trying to push me out, just like he had done with several other senior employees. Tim had become his puppet, and he wanted to clear the way for more of his family members and cronies. But I wasn't going to go down quietly. After that meeting, I decided to play the long game. If John thought he could force me out, he was sorely mistaken. I started gathering evidence. Every email, every shady expense report, every unethical directive from John, I documented it all. I became meticulous, ensuring that I had a paper trail for everything. I also started talking to other employees who had left or were thinking about leaving. Sarah, the developer who had been humiliated, provided me with key information. She told me that John had ordered her to inflate project deadlines and charge clients extra fees without delivering any additional work. It was blatant fraud, and Sarah had proof. As the weeks went by, I collected more and more dirt on John. I even managed to get a copy of his expense reports, which showed that he had been billing the company for personal vacations, lavish dinners, and even private jet flights that had nothing to do with company business. He was bleeding the company dry, all while forcing us to work harder for less. The final piece of the puzzle came when I overheard a conversation between John and Tim. They were in John's office, talking in hushed tones, but I was close enough to hear. "Don't worry about it, Tim," John said, his voice reassuring. "We'll blame it on someone else. I'll make sure they don't fire you." "Thanks, Uncle John. I thought I was going to lose my job over this." "Your family. I'll always have your back." That was the last straw. I had enough evidence to bring John down, and I was ready to act. I reached out to the company's legal department, which had a strict whistleblower policy. I provided them with everything: emails, expense reports, Sarah's testimony, and even audio recordings of John's conversations. They were shocked. John's corruption was far worse than anyone had imagined. But I didn't stop there. I wanted to ruin John's career, not just get him fired. I had a friend in the media industry, a journalist who specialized in corporate scandals. I gave her the story, and she ran with it. Within days, major business publications were covering the scandal. John's face was plastered all over the news, and the company's stock plummeted. The board of directors had no choice but to launch an internal investigation. John was immediately placed on leave while they reviewed the evidence. As the investigation unfolded, even more dirt surfaced. It turned out that John had been involved in shady business deals long before he became CEO. He had been funneling company money into offshore accounts, covering up losses, and manipulating financial reports to present a facade of profitability. The board's investigation concluded with John's termination. He was fired in disgrace, his reputation shattered. He tried to fight back, claiming that he was the victim of a smear campaign, but the evidence was overwhelming. The board publicly distanced themselves from John, and his name became synonymous with corporate greed and corruption. Tim was also let go. Without John to protect him, the company quickly realized that he was a liability. He struggled to find another job, his association with his uncle's downfall making him untouchable in the industry. As for me, I left the company on my own terms. I received a generous severance package, and with my reputation intact, I was quickly hired by a competitor. My career continued to thrive while John's life fell apart. He was blacklisted from the industry and ended up selling his house to pay off his legal debts. Last I heard, he was trying to start his own business, but nobody wanted to invest in him. He was a pariah. My revenge was complete. John had tried to ruin me, but in the end, it was he who lost everything.